subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Hello. In this video, we will discuss the poem Easter Wings written by George Herbert. Let's first have a brief introduction to the poem. Easter Wings is a religious poem written by George Herbert and was published in 1633 in his collection of poems, The Temple. The poem is a famous example of the pattern poem, also known as a shape poem or a concrete poem. The poem was published vertically in the early editions, which looked like two wings. The poem has two stanzas, and each stanza consists of 10 lines with rhyme scheme as ABABACDCDC. The poem is directly addressed to God and is a prayer incorporating praise, confession, and petition. The first stanza begins with man's creation and fall. God gave Adam everything he needed, but he lost all by disobeying God in the garden. The second stanza again begins with the sin of Adam, which makes the poet sorrowful and shameful. Lord, who createdst man in wealth and store, though foolishly he lost the same, decaying more and more, till he became most poor. The poet addressed the God who created Adam with all the pleasures he needed in his life, like food, wife, and beautiful garden. But he foolishly lost all the pleasures of heaven by committing the sin of disobedience. The pleasures of the garden went decaying more and more until the man became poorer. With thee, O let me rise as larks harmoniously and sing this day thy victories, then shall the fall further the flight in me. Then the poet prays to God to let him rise as larks rise in harmony and wishes to sing the songs of his victories. The poet also prays to God to make the fall the cause of his flight. My tender age in sorrow did begin, and still with sickness and shame, thou didst so punish sin, that I became most thin. Now the poet says that he was born in sorrow and still feels sickness and shame because of the sin of Adam. Nevertheless, the Lord has punished sin, but now the poet has become weak and thin. With thee, let me combine and feel thy victory, for if I imp my wing on thine, affliction shall advance the flight in me. The poet wants to join God to rise and enjoy his victory over sin. If the poet attaches his own wing to the wing of God, his suffering will only improve his flight in him.